In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, what do women get? That's a pretty good question. What do we get?
So I was listening intently as the new brethren were speaking, and during Gary Stevenson's remarks, his testimony, I was absolutely blown away as he described his calling to the 12.
And so it was on Tuesday morning of this week, just after 9 a.m., as the bishopric was beginning a meeting with the Asia Area Presidency, who are here for conference, that I was called to meet with President Monson, along with his counselors. Moments later, as I walked into the boardroom adjacent to his office, I must have looked nervous sitting across the table as he kindly spoke to calm my nerves. He commented, noting my age, that I seemed quite young and even looked younger than my age. Then, within a few moments, President Monson described that acting on the will of the Lord, a call to the Quorum of the 12 was being extended to me.
He says that he was in a meeting as the presiding bishop, and he was called in to meet with President Monson, and he alone met with President Monson and his counselors, and then in a quiet moment they extended to him that Jesus had called him to be a member of the Quorum of the 12.
He asked me if I would accept this call, to which, following what I'm sure was a very undignified, audible gasp, in complete shock, I responded affirmatively.
He said he accepted the call, and they continued to put him at ease. He says this was in the morning.
I rehearsed what I have just described to you to my sweet companion Lisa. Later that day, seated in a quiet corner on Temple Square with a serene view of the temple and the historic tabernacle lying before us.
And then he says, I've just rehearsed to you exactly what I told my wife later that afternoon on a park bench on Temple Square as we looked at the temple. And I don't know, I have never had something just feel like it was a dagger to my heart more than that. And I thought, he got this call to the 12 without his wife being present in the room. He accepted this lifelong position that will affect her life as much as his. It will affect every aspect of their daily living, where they live, what they do, how they travel, their relationships with their children, grandchildren, friends, neighbors. It affects I don't know if his wife is employed or not employed. It will affect every aspect of her life. And he was called in, extended the call, accepted the call, and then told her all about it later. And as I was trying to process that, 2 talks later is all about women and how much they're needed. And I just wanted to scream, empty rhetoric, empty rhetoric. You can tell us that we matter. You can say we're important. But if you cannot include us in this kind of a decision, we have no voice, none. And it's from the top down. And the thing is, I looked it up. The handbook very clearly states that when issuing a call, leaders should invite the spouse of a married person to give their support when a calling is extended, which means that our own prophets don't follow that handbook. So how can we require anyone else to follow it? And that you can say all you want, all those platitudes about women, how important we are, covenant-keeping women are needed here in the last days, and I just say, bull crap. Whatever. You didn't invite us. We have no voice. We don't participate. I can't believe it's all I can think about. I do not matter. And it goes further than that for me, which is just a much bigger, that the ultimate goal of a Mormon woman is to vanish. That my biggest job here on earth is to nurture my children and to care for them so that I can disappear. Why am I working on all of these qualities? Because I am not needed in the afterlife. My Heavenly Mother does not answer my prayers or succor my needs. A man does that. My Heavenly Mother is absent, vacant, lost, gone forever, never to be heard from again. And so it's very shallow to tell me that this is my God-given role. It's just to vanish. And as you see this, I think, the higher up men get in the church, the more their wives just disappear. There are no state funerals for their wives. There are no accolades for them. They don't have a prominent position. They just vanish. The best wife is sitting in the back quietly, just helping her husband shine. And that's so offensive to me. What do I aspire to as a woman? What? I can be a good mother here on earth. I get that. And I enjoy that. Don't get me wrong. I love my children. I absolutely love nurturing them and loving them. But I'm just preparing them for the day when they can be loved and nurtured by men only, because I will not exist for them ever again. And I wish there were answers. I think, how do I answer this? In fact, that's my biggest reservation. And it bleeds into so many of the other remarks that were given that day, because we had Elder Nelson, just women, 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 we're going to need you, on and on and on. And then all the way to Elder Hollins, Behold Thy Mother, which is the topic of mothers is so filled with emotion. But we have this glorified, perfected version of what a mother does, and that is really unattainable. Essentially, you cannot succeed as a mother, and you can't feel successful about your efforts unless your children are 100% in the church all the time, and you should give everything to make sure that they accomplish that. For every woman, that's impossible. So you've set everybody up for a problem that they'll never be able to surmount, a mountain they will never be able to climb. And I find it laughable, because we do believe that our heavenly parents lost a third of their children in the war in heaven, which means that our own heavenly mother is a failure, 33% of the time. So I don't know why we have this 100% kind of attitude about it, and that anything less means you're a failure, but that's what we preach all the time. But you can tell me that this is my job, but I just no longer believe it. I just no longer believe that it extends beyond. And when you come and preach to me and tell me that you, as a man, understand, the fact that you don't call in the wife to the quorum of the 12 tells me you do not understand, and you are not listening, and you probably don't care.
Does this sound to you like an organization that doesn't value women?